Are you looking to spice things up in your kitchen? Well, please join me as I prepare my zesty Rockin Moroccan Stew. Jazzy vegetarian style, of course. So let's get to the kitchen now.
Jazzy, you're gonna be healthy with the Jazzy vegetarian. Jazzy, so snazzy. We're gonna cook something healthy and light. Jazzy, so snazzy.
So join me in the kitchen right now.
We're gonna cook something healthy and light. That's right.
On today's show, spice makes it nice with my oven-baked Rockin Moroccan Stew, featuring a rainbow of veggies infused with sweet and spicy flavor. Paired with quick quinoa, this hearty meal is perfect for any night of the week. Then fig, kale, and tomato salad brings a welcome change to your everyday greens. Now for dessert, my easy but luscious apple tart with blueberry glaze is sure to please. So let's prepare it now. This stew is rockin'. You're really gonna love it. I came up with this one night when I had all these veggies in my refrigerator, and I wanted to make a really fantastic meal that was healthy, easy, but had a real zing to it. And we're gonna start off with a beautiful Bermuda onion, and I'm just gonna chop that up for you. I like the colors in this stew, and the red or Bermuda onion adds a really great pop of color. And just kind of a real rough chop to it. It goes along really, really quickly. We're gonna make this stew in the oven, so it makes it really easy if you're entertaining, having friends, or just for a fabulous weeknight meal. Now, we've got a lot of superstars in this recipe, but my main superstar is this beautiful eggplant. I'm here at my local garden center picking up a few plants, and I bet you're wondering what this is. Well, it's an eggplant plant. You know, I really love using eggplant because it's a great substitution for meat. You can use eggplant layered in casseroles, you can use it in lasagnas, you can use it in soups, and you can use it today like I've used it in my Rockin Moroccan Stew. So eggplant, it's really delicious to use in so many dishes. So let's get back to cooking my stew. This is really what you want to see in an eggplant. It's kind of a dark purpley black color. So we've peeled our eggplant. They're so soft and easy to cut, and we're just going to cut it into nice little, somewhat uniform cubes. And let's just pop that right into our mixing bowl. There's the second half. So we're starting off with one eggplant. Medium to large. This was a large eggplant. If you like eggplant, you can use this size. Otherwise, a medium one is fine. Oh, and by the way, if you don't like eggplant, you may use butternut squash in this recipe as well. It's a great way to change it up. So I'm going to bring my bowl in the middle now because we're going to start adding everything to our stew. You're going to see how quickly this all comes together. Now we're going to add in our beautiful Bermuda onion. And as you see, I've just rough chopped that. And then I have sliced 4 large carrots. I've peeled them and I've cut them into 1-inch slices. And then cauliflower. This is 1 small cauliflower, and I've just cut that into florets. About 1.5 cans of chickpeas or garbanzo beans, about 22 ounces. I've drained them, I've rinsed them. And then next, let me get my cutting board again because I realized I've got to cut my potato. You know I love potatoes. Any reason to use potatoes? Count me in. And here's a little jazzy tip today. If you want to pre-cut your potatoes and you don't want them to turn brown, just keep them in a little bit of water, just like this, and it will keep them from getting brown before you put them in your stew or anything else you're going to use them for. I've chopped up 2 potatoes. Right now I'm going to chop up a third. Of course, I've washed them, scrubbed them, and peeled them first. If you don't want to use white potatoes in this, I've used russets today. You can also use any kind of sweet potato or yam that you like. That will work in this stew just as well. But what I've done is I've preheated my oven to 375 degrees, and we're going to use a big Dutch oven. And we're going to oven stew this, or oven bake this today, because all these spices that I'm going to put in here are all going to infuse into the vegetables, and it's really, really great. So let me drain my potatoes. We're going to take these potatoes, just dump them right in. So we're just going to give this a toss. I've got my big bowl for this. Whoa, chickpeas flying all over the place. What a beautiful rainbow of colors this is. Now, we're going to add in about 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. I like to use the organic if you can get them. Just toss that all together. So what we're going to do, we're going to put it all into our pot, and you're going to see what happens. It's just like magic. All right, now what would spicy Rockin Moroccan Stew be without our spices? So that's what we're going to get to right now. 1 teaspoon of cumin. Just toss that right in there. And then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then about 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, just for a little bit of heat. And then about a little bit more than 1/2 teaspoon, because I'm using unsalted broth today, but about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's all there is to it. Wow, if you could smell this. Woo! This is amazing. All right, so that's nicely tossed. Set that aside, and I'm going to get my Dutch oven. Ooh, this is heavy. If you don't have a big, heavy pot like this, you can just use any kind of oven casserole. Is what you want to use with this. And it's going into a 375-degree oven. It's going to bake for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. And I know it looks like a lot now, but you're going to see it's really going to cook down. To finish it off, I've got 2½ cups of vegetable broth. Now, I have some more vegetable broth in the refrigerator. I'm going to check this after about 1/2 hour, and if it's too dry, I'm going to add about another 1/4 to another 1/2 cup of that veggie broth. You can also add a little bit more of the tomatoes if you like. And that is it, my spicy Rockin Moroccan Stew. Next up, a little change from your everyday greens. Stick around for that. Fig, kale, and tomato salad. I just love kale, and I'd like to introduce you to using it as a salad. We're going to mix it with a little romaine and some tomatoes and some fabulous figs for a little sweet, a little spice to go along with our Moroccan stew. So let's just talk about kale for a little bit. And for this, if you can find it, this is lacinato kale, and it's also called Tuscan kale. It's also called dinosaur kale, which you can see why they called it that. And it gets very tender when you tenderize it, like I'm going to right now. And then, of course, we have this beautiful red-leafed kale, and I'm going to add a little bit of that into the salad as well today. And then there's the regular kind of curly kale that you get in your supermarket, and that's perfectly fine to use for this, too, if you don't find either of these. So to start off, see this stem right along the middle there? If you leave that in, it's going to be tough. So you want to get rid of that stem. You take it, you grab this stem like this, very firmly, and just run your hand along it, and that tender kale is going to come right off of there. And honestly, that's usually how I do it. Unless I have some stubborn kale that just doesn't want to do this. But this isn't stubborn kale, this is Tuscan kale. A taste of Italy and Morocco today. Roll it all up, kind of in a little ball like that. And then you're just going to do a chiffonade cut. Now, to tenderize this kale, we're going to make a beautiful dressing. So what we're going to begin with is about 1/4 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Ooh, that's really pretty. 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. You can use maple sugar for this if you like. You can actually use maple syrup too. I've done it with that. And then to make it so it all emulsifies, it's 1 teaspoon of a good Dijon mustard. There we go. Then maybe just a touch of sea salt and a little bit of freshly ground pepper. Oh yeah, that's nice. Whisk it all together. We're going to add about 2 tablespoons of this dressing. The rest we're going to use to dress our salad when we're ready to toss it all together. Now, we're going to get our hands dirty. And we're basically just going to give our kale a massage. So I am a kale masseuse. Massage the kale, and that's going to kind of break down the fibers, tenderize it a little bit, and make it so that when we toss it into the salad later, that it's softened up. That is all there is to it. Look how pretty that is. All right, we're going to set that aside and let that do its thing. Let me rinse my hands off. Figs are nutritious, delicious, and they're yummy too. I use between 2 and 4 figs in this salad, and this is all we're going to do. And if you can check this out, and take a look at the inside. Isn't that pretty? With all those beautiful seeds. Oh, it just has the greatest texture. It's really, really good. So it's going to be fabulous in this salad. So you just want to slice them as thin as you possibly can, because every mouthful of this salad, you're going to get a nice little pop of that fabulous fig. Now, when you get to the end, there's this little stem. You're not going to eat that. Make sure you put that aside. All right, we have one more ingredient to cut into this salad, and that's a beautiful tomato. So we're going to put 1 tomato into the salad, kind of in slices, chunky slices, I guess is the best way to describe it. You can also use grape tomatoes for this salad. Really, really nice. Or cherry tomatoes, multicolored tomatoes, heirloom tomatoes, really any kind of tomato you want. Okay, I've been so excited about this. Now we're going to put it all together. So we're going to use about 4 cups of chopped romaine lettuce. Now our beautiful figs go in. Look at how pretty that is. That's really nice. Now my beautiful tomatoes. Now, the last little jazzy kick to give this some real pizzazz is some sunflower seeds. And I'm adding 2 tablespoons of unsalted roasted sunflower seeds. You can use the salted ones. Isn't that beautiful already? Right before we serve it, we're going to mix everything together. It's going to be oh so fabulous. Now, up next, it's my luscious apple tart with blueberry glaze. So stick around for that. So I know you're asking, you're making dessert, why do you have a tortilla in front of you? The tortilla is actually the crust of this tart. And what I've used here today is just a whole wheat or a whole grain tortilla. And actually, if you want to make this gluten-free, you can use a gluten-free tortilla, such as a brown rice tortilla or anything that you normally use if you do gluten-free cooking. So that's a great jazzy tip. And then we're going to melt 1 tablespoon of vegan margarine. And to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of a great organic maple syrup. Good. We're just going to keep that on a little simmer on our stove. Keep it melted until we're ready to use it in just a minute. This is an apple tart. So with an apple tart, we need apples. And today I have some beautiful Granny Smith apples. They make this kind of a tart apple tart. I love going to the apple orchards in the fall, picking apples or getting those big bushels of apples. Basically, buy them locally if you can. When you're supporting your local farmer, you're also supporting your local economy. So you're keeping the dollars in your neighborhood or in your town. When you go to a local farm stand, quite often the farmer is going to be there. And just talk to them and learn about how they've grown the food. So what we're going to do here is we're going to slice these apples very thin. Just nice little thin slices like that. This is going to cook up pretty quick. I've got the oven at 375. And it's going to cook up in about a half hour, maybe 25 minutes. Don't have apples on hand? You can also use pears for this tart. Pears work really well. You know, when you see me making something and you say, oh gosh, I don't like that ingredient, or I don't like those kind of apples, just change it up how you like it. Do what your family loves. That's what great cooking is all about. And always add the most important ingredient, which is a little bit of your love. That's my favorite ingredient. I'm going to set these aside, and we're going to prepare our tortilla. And basically how I'm going to start is I'm going to brush just a little bit of this right over top of that tortilla. Oh boy, my mouth is watering. Then I'm taking a cookie sheet with a piece of unbleached parchment paper. Basically what you want to do is just quickly flip this over so the piece that you've already brushed is on the bottom. Actually, before you do that, here's a little tip. What I'm going to do, so the bottom of this gets a little bit of nice crispiness to it, I'm going to sprinkle just a tiny bit of maple sugar underneath, just a tad, just like that. Kind of rub it into that tortilla. To the other side. You can do this with brown sugar too if you don't have maple sugar, but that is going to really crisp up. Okay, we're just going to brush the top of this with some more of this glaze. Make sure you brush around the very edges. Oh yeah. And on the top of this, I'm going to also add just a little bit more of this maple sugar. Just sprinkle a tiny bit of it over there. This is just going to help to crisp it up a little bit. All right, let's set that aside. Now, I'm going to take the rest of this maple and margarine, and that's what's going to dress up the apples. Whatever's left after you brush your tortilla is what you're going to put on top here. Very nice. And then 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Fantastic. Take your mixing spoon. And now that maple syrup and that vegan margarine and those bits of cinnamon, just coating those apples. That's also going to help brown the apples up really, really nicely. They're almost going to caramelize over the top. So you're just going to start taking your apple slices and you're going to arrange them in a spiral fashion. And you're going to keep that going around your tortilla. And that's really what's going to form our tart. We are going to put it into a 375-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. You are going to keep an eye on it though, because the tortilla, depending on what kind of tortilla you get and how thick the tortilla itself is, it's going to start browning up. And if it does, you're going to tent it with a little foil in the last part of cooking, or even put a little foil around the edges. Once it comes out of the oven, we have a beautiful, beautiful topping for this tart. I'll show you how to do that. Now see, these apples were a little bit bigger than small, so I'm probably only using about 2 of them today. So if you have large apples, use 2. If you have small apples, use 3. Arrange a couple in the middle, kind of like that. Isn't that beautiful already? So let's pop that in the oven. And next up we have my quick quinoa, and it really is quick. And I'm going to show you how to make that right now. Here's the little thing about quinoa. You need to rinse it very, very thoroughly, because being that it's a seed, it has a little coating on the outside. We want to get rid of that coating because it can taste kind of bitter in your recipes. So I've got 1 cup of quinoa and 2 cups of vegetable broth. You can use water. That would be 2 cups of water as well. All right, pop that top on. Put that on a medium heat, and we're going to let that simmer for about 15 to 17 minutes. And then you're going to see we're just going to fluff it up with a fork, just like rice. Tastes oh so good. I smell that luscious apple tart. Let's take it out of the oven. Woo! Oh my goodness. Everybody in here, I can see the crew. Everybody says, oh my gosh, that smells fantastic. And we're going to put the blueberry glaze on it. Actually, all that is blueberry preserves. And I've got 2 tablespoons. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a tiny bit of water, about a tablespoon of water. Just add it a little bit at a time. That's it. Isn't that pretty? Now, you want to make sure to get your glaze on right when your apple tart comes out of the oven. I'm just going to take, oh boy, isn't that pretty? Look at that, look at that. That blue, isn't that just so beautiful? And you're just going to glaze it. And you see how already the hot apples are melting that blueberry glaze. Look how easy that was. I want to let this just set now for about 5 minutes for that blueberry preserve to make that glaze. Let's taste everything. Woo! Voila! My beautiful, luscious apple tart with blueberry glaze. Doesn't that look just absolutely delectable? And I'm going to have my dessert first, because I can't wait to try this. But I am going to cut it on a cutting board, so let me just grab that over here. Okay. Oh yeah, that's just beautiful. And what I like to use for this is a serrated bread knife. Nice little piece there. Plate it up. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Just so delicate. Let me just take a taste for you. So you've got the sweet blueberry on the top. You've got that tart Granny Smith apple that's with that maple, and then that crisp crust underneath. And it all comes together in one. Absolutely tantalizing. Perfectly crisp. You must try it. Now we're going to get to the star of the show, and that's our Rockin Moroccan Stew. Look how beautiful that is. Let me just show you this. The starch from the potatoes is what thickens it all up. The beautiful colors. I wish you could be here to taste it. But I'm going to have to do that duty today. And I'm going to put it in a pretty bowl. I like to serve the quinoa with the stew. Just put a little bit in there so you can get a little bit of quinoa, a little bit of stew. It's really good, really colorful. Let me give that quinoa a taste for you. Isn't that beautiful? Perfectly done. Let's try that stew. Ooh, it's hot. Rockin' hot. That is delicious. That cumin, that cinnamon, a little bit of the cayenne. There's just a little bit of spicy heat in there. And then all those vegetables have cooked together. Fabulous, fabulous. Of course, last but not least is our beautiful kale, fig, and tomato salad. Take a look at that. I'm just going to serve a little bit of it up for myself. I want to make sure to get a little bit of that kale. Look how pretty that is. And if you're serving this, I do like to serve it on a pretty salad plate, kind of right in the middle of the plate when you serve it to your guests if you're having a party. That is so delicious. That kale has become very, very tender. It's all infused with that balsamic dressing and just that little pop of that sweet fig in there. It's so good. I just have to have one more bite. I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today. And the next time you're looking to spice up your kitchen, I hope you'll be inspired by the rockin' recipes on today's show. So until next time, be happy, be healthy, and be well. From the Jazzy Vegetarian.
Visit our website at jazzyvegetarian.com to connect with Laura, see videos, find your favorite recipes, and more. Follow Laura on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Laura Theodore's Jazzy Vegetarian Classics features recipes from this series, and it's available for $26.95. Jazzy Vegetarian, a collection of favorite recipes, is available for $24.95. A set of both cookbooks is available for $44.95. For information or to order, visit jazzyvegetarian.com.
Organic love, 100% natural. Yes, it is now. Organic love. I've got no additives or no preservatives. It's real intuitive. It's downright primitive. Organic love is 100% natural. Yes, it is now.